Chapter 9, Cyber Winter is here. Chapter 9 shifts focus to the cyberfront of Israel's shadow war with Iran. With both nations enhancing their digital arsenals, Cyber Winter refers to a new era of cyber conflict, marked by covert digital attacks, espionage, and destructive malware. The cyber battlefield emerges. Over the years, Israel and Iran have developed sophisticated cyber tools. Initially used for surveillance and intelligence gathering, these tools evolved into weapons capable of sabotage and disruption. In this chapter, the authors illustrate how cyber operations moved from theoretical capabilities to real-world digital warfare. Key points. Cyber missions became integral to Israel's national security, just like airstrikes or espionage. Israeli cyber units coordinated closely with the Military Intelligence Directorate (Amman) and the IDF's Cyber Division, working alongside Mossad specialists. Notable cyber strikes. The chapter recounts striking cyberattacks targeting Iran's nuclear program and critical infrastructure. 1. Stuxnet debut. Although dating back to 2010, the Stuxnet worm remains the most famous example. It corrupted hundreds of centrifuges at Natanz, effectively delaying Iran's nuclear ambitions. The authors describe it as Israel's first covert digital missile, a new weapon in its strategic arsenal. 2. Subsequent malware attacks. Following Stuxnet, Israel deployed additional malware to disrupt power grids, missile test systems, and centrifuge controls. In one case, malware in a power facility caused sudden blackouts, paralyzing internal systems without clear attribution. 3. Data wipe operations. Attacks designed to erase database servers and obscure operational logs, hindering Iran's ability to monitor, analyze, or recover from espionage or sabotage. Espionage through the web. Cyber winter isn't just about destruction, it's also about organized espionage. Israel's units planted backdoors and listening tools into Iranian internal networks, enabling remote surveillance and interception of classified communications. Social engineering operations made individuals inadvertently assist hackers, especially engineers or scientists involved in nuclear projects. Fake social networks and malicious email campaigns were used to infiltrate Iranian teams quietly over weeks or months. Coordinated cyber alliances. A key theme in this chapter is how Israel's cyber war became a regional and U.S.-partnered effort. Information from cyber operations was exchanged with U.S. intelligence agencies and key Gulf partners. The cyber winter doctrine evolved into a shared deterrent. Iranian operators had to worry about retaliation from Israel, the U.S., and growing Gulf cyber arsenals. Strategic impact and war preparation. The digital blitz weakened Iran's confidence in its nuclear systems. Sudden failures and unexplained electronic glitches raised suspicion and fear within their programs. Such uncertainty can derail development efforts as much as physical sabotage. The chapter suggests that cyber dominance serves both preventive and preparatory purposes. Preventive. Damage and delay nuclear progression. Preparatory. Create contingency advantages if Israel ever needed kinetic strikes. Risks and escalation threats. Cyber winter also carries risks. Iran has grown in digital expertise, launching counter-attacks on Israeli financial institutions, energy systems, and media. Attribution is difficult, which complicates retaliatory responses and can spiral into broader escalation. Cyber operations blur the line between peace and war, impacting civilians and infrastructure without open conflict. The new warfare frontier. Chapter 9 emphasizes that 21st century conflicts aren't fought only with guns or bombs, they happen in cyberspace too. In this evolving battlefield, stealth, precision, timing, and misdirection are just as strategic as traditional force. Israel's investment in cyber warfare reflects a broader shift in global military strategy. Chapter 10 Opportunity from Strange Quarters. This chapter examines how unexpected developments, diplomatic openings, political stumbles in Iran, and tactical errors by Iran's rivals have created unanticipated opportunities for Israel's efforts to counter the Iranian nuclear threat. The authors illustrate that successful strategy isn't always about design, sometimes it hinges on exploiting serendipity and chaos. Gulf cooperation and diplomatic surprise. Long before formal normalization, Israel benefited from the emergent alignment among Gulf states that viewed Iran as a destabilizing threat. This included quiet intelligence sharing with countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and Oman, often through back channels. Technical cooperation on air defense radar and cybersecurity architecture. Political goodwill fostered by shared concerns, enabling deep strategic readiness without public acknowledgement. These unexpected partnerships gave Israel new levers, alternative air routes, logistical support, which were invaluable for advancing regional security operations quietly yet powerfully. Iran's political missteps. Iran's leadership, facing domestic unrest, factional infighting, and economic crises, inadvertently exposed internal cracks. Failed economic reforms and sanctions provoked large-scale protests across Iran, which diverted regime attention away from foreign engagement. Power struggles between moderates and hardliners created windows of intelligence for Israeli operatives. Public dissatisfaction caused Iranian security services to focus inward, sometimes lessening their vigilance at foreign embassies or covert facilities. These unintended distractions allowed Israeli intelligence to operate more freely, planting agents, gathering data, and organizing sabotage more easily. International miscalculations. Global actors often stroked opportunities Israel could exploit. Western pressure on Iran inadvertently created openings for Mossad to deepen sabotage operations while the world's gaze was elsewhere. Diplomatic fatigue around the nuclear deal meant less scrutiny of covert actions, allowing Israel to operate more aggressively without triggering retaliation. When other regional powers misread Iranian capabilities, Mossad and the IDF leveraged that overconfidence to perform targeted strikes or digital warfare without escalating tensions. Operational flexibility. Mossad's ability to seize the moment became a trademark of Israeli strategy. Rapid deployment of sabotage teams when Iran's guard was down. Speedy execution of cyber and physical operations in response to Iranian miscalculations. Combining long-planned missions with rapid response strikes when fleeting opportunities emerged. The authors describe it as strategic improvisation, converting chaos into advantage. Unlikely allies and tactical alliances. Strange quarters also refers to cooperation from unexpected sources. Iranian dissidents or defectors provided valuable intelligence because they believed moderate voices should prevail. Surprise assistance from Western intelligence agencies, motivated by fatigue with diplomacy or counterterrorism concerns, offered cover for deeper operations. Occasionally, non-state groups in the Middle East quietly sided with Israel's tactics, not out of allegiance but due to rivalries with Iran's proxies. These unconventional allies helped decrease operational risk and expand Israel's reach in unconventional ways. Tactical objective expansion. Many missions in this era weren't part of grand strategy, they were snap responses to emerging situations. Sabotaging newly detected centrifuge lines as technicians rotated shifts. Exfiltrating data from safe houses once Iran's border focus shifted. Cyber strikes timed to exploit Iran's holidays or internal chaos. This mindset required nimble coordination among different Israeli agencies, from Mossad, to military intelligence, to cyber and diplomatic wings. Chapter 11. The Mossad sends a message. Chapter 11 centers on a carefully orchestrated demonstration by Mossad designed to signal to Iran, its proxies, and the world that covert Israeli operations have reached a new level of reach and audacity. This isn't a heroic raid or a major assassination but a psychological and strategic maneuver to remind all parties of Mossad's capabilities and resolve. Strategic intent. The chapter explains that intelligence campaigns often rely not just on physical action but on managing reputation. The Mossad wanted to reinforce its image of omnipresence and invincibility by executing an operation that Iran couldn't ignore, even if the operation itself was lower risk compared to others. Rather than stealing archives or targeting senior scientists, this mission was meant to be low volume but high visibility, proving that Mossad could reach its targets anywhere, across borders and deep underground. Operation Breakdown. Although specific operational details remain classified, the narrative outlines the core elements. Target selection. Involved individuals tied to Iran's cyber, drone, or sabotage programs, some lower tier yet strategically relevant. Signal execution. The Mossad allowed news of the strike to reach public ears in a controlled manner, prompting global media coverage and intense speculation within Tehran. Calculated leaks. The Israeli government and intelligence community used anonymous sources and carefully unsealed documents to confirm involvement without blowing their operational capabilities. Message to regional players. The authors stress that this move was multi-layered in its signaling objectives. 1. To Iran, a reminder that none of its critical assets are truly secure. The Mossad can, at will, target its people and disrupt key operations. 2. To Israeli citizens, a public demonstration of national security and strength, reassuring every citizen that Mossad is actively defending them. 3. To regional allies, a reinforcement of Israel's value as a defense partner, especially to Gulf nations weighing alignment against Iran. 4. To global intelligence community, a message that unintentionally feeds into broader deterrence strategies, influencing allies and adversaries around the world. Balancing risk and reward. This chapter delves into the strategic calculus of such messaging operations. Minimized risk. By choosing a moderate-level target, Mossad reduced the chances of retaliation. Maximized impact. Media coverage, official statements, and Tehran's own alarm magnified the operation's effect. Operational discipline. By avoiding overstretching or misfires, Mossad maintained credibility and avoided escalation. Psychological warfare. The Mossad sends a message, describes how intelligence agencies view operations as forms of theater. The goal was not just elimination but the perception of omnipotence. Tehran's reaction, public condemnation, closed-door panic, tight security, became part of the operation's success. The Mossad's reputation as a shadow actor deepens Iran's sense of uncertainty and vulnerability, which over time reduces its ability to act openly or confidently. Chapter 12. The father of the bomb is no more. Chapter 12 recounts the assassination of Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, Iran's most prominent nuclear scientist, often hailed as the father of the bomb. His death marked a pivotal moment in Israel's campaign against Iran's nuclear weapons program. Who was Mohsen Fakhrizadeh? Fakhrizadeh was a central figure in Iran's nuclear and missile research, believed to be the architect behind Iran's covert nuclear weapons efforts. Since the early 2000s, he led the Physics Research Center and had strong ties to Iran's military establishments, especially the IRGC. His expertise meant he was not just a scientist but a critical man of strategy, development, and execution. The operation. The chapter details how Mossad and allied intelligence agencies meticulously planned the operation. 1. Surveillance and pattern analysis. Agents monitored Fakhrizadeh's routines, family movements, and security arrangements over months or even years to identify vulnerabilities. They tracked his convoy, bodyguards, and safe houses to determine the most effective opportunity. 2. Precision strike execution. The assassination occurred on November 27, 2020, near Tehran. An advanced remote-controlled weapons system likely engaged Fakhrizadeh's car, eliminating him while minimizing risk to bystanders. Reports suggest the device was operated via a robotic platform or rifle mounted with laser guidance, ensuring that no operatives were on site. 3. Tactical complexity. The strike was carried out in broad daylight amidst heavy security, a testimony to the operational reach and technical prowess involved. It avoided direct confrontation, leaving Iran with no clear path to identify or retaliate against the operatives involved. Strategic and symbolic fallout. Scientific setback. With Fakhrizadeh's death, Iran lost irreplaceable expertise in nuclear weapons development. His removal created a significant gap that could delay or degrade parts of Iran's capabilities. Psychological impact. His assassination served as a powerful message: even the most protected individuals could be targeted. It sent fear across Iran's elite and reinforcement domestically that Israel wouldn't hesitate to remove key threats. Diplomatic echoes. The timing, just after the U.S. presidential election, suggests Israel anticipated a shift in American policy. The operation reinforced the notion that Israel would defend itself regardless of external political changes. International reactions. Iran publicly denounced the killing, promising retaliation. Iranian leaders called it an international crime and used it to stoke nationalistic fervor. The West issued muted responses, some expressing concern over regional escalation, but few condemning the operation outright. The death of Fakhrizadeh reopened global debate on covert tactics and state-sponsored targeting of scientific personnel. Long-term implications. The assassination shifted Iran's covert nuclear planning underground, with greater compartmentalization to protect remaining assets. Russia and other allies may accelerate efforts to aid Iran or provide technological lifelines following his death. Within Israel and allied intelligence communities, the operation is cited as a case study in strategic assassination, blending intelligence, stealth tech, and timing. Chapter 13, A Beautiful Attack. Chapter 13, titled, A Beautiful Attack, chronicles a particularly sophisticated and high-profile operation against Iran, one that combined technological innovation, psychological warfare, and strategic precision. The mission earned its moniker for both its elegance and effectiveness in disrupting Iran's hardline elements. The target, an elite IRGC cyber unit. The operation focused on a key cyber command center belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps (IRGC). This unit was crucial in orchestrating Iran's cyberattacks and support for regional proxy groups. Neutralizing it would significantly degrade Iran's ability to retaliate digitally against Israel and its allies. Planning with surgical precision. Years in the making, Israeli intelligence and cyber defense agencies, including Mossad, military intelligence (Amman), and the IDF Cyber Division, collaborated intensely. They studied the unit's infrastructure, communication patterns, and vulnerabilities for months, mapping everything from encryption protocols to security shifts. Zero-day exploits. Operating off the grid of conventional warfare, they employed advanced cyber tools capable of exploiting unknown vulnerabilities. These zero-day exploits allowed them to penetrate the enemy's digital defenses with near-total stealth. Execution. Silence before the storm. Deep infiltration. Agents planted digital listening devices and monitoring implants within Iran's cyber hub, gaining access to live feeds and operational data. Coordinated strike. On a predetermined night, Israeli cyber operatives launched a multi-pronged assault, defacing Iran's systems, injecting malware to erase servers, and severing intelligence links, shutting down the IRGC cyber unit in minutes. Physical psyops. Coinciding with the digital attack, a convoy transporting suspected cyber operatives was mysteriously disabled and detained by friendly forces outside Iran, hinting that Mossad had also neutralized key personnel. Although unconfirmed, the impact was psychologically potent. Global impact and regional messaging. Reassuring allies. The swift takedown reassured Israel's Gulf allies that Iran's cyber capabilities had limits, that now, they too were protected by Israeli cyber vigilance. Unnerving Tehran. Iran's leadership was forced into public damage control, scrambling to reconstitute their cyber forces and offering little comfort to the IRGC's internal supporters. Victory with low risk. Unlike open military strikes, this cyber operation offered a large strategic payoff without risking overt escalation. It avoided triggering Iran's missile systems or proxy networks while delivering a meaningful blow, truly a beautiful attack, in its combination of binary precision and strategic subtlety. Strategic takeaway. A beautiful attack signals a new era in covert warfare, a shift away from bombs and drones to digital surgical strikes. In this case, stealth, speed, and psychological impact were the weapons of choice, reinforcing Mossad's reputation for elegance in conflict. Chapter 14, Death by 1,000 Cuts. This chapter examines the cumulative impact of Israel's relentless, small-scale operations designed to steadily undermine Iran's nuclear program, military infrastructure, and global influence. Unlike single, dramatic strikes, this strategy relies on a series of persistent, low-profile acts, hence the metaphor of 1,000 cuts. The strategy defined, death by 1,000 cuts, isn't a singular operation but a coordinated campaign that targets numerous aspects of Iran's capabilities. Cyber intrusions that disable systems or siphon sensitive data. Small-scale sabotage at factories, ports, and R&D centers. Targeted technical disruptions, like causing engineering defects or production delays. Assassinations aimed at mid-level engineers and scientists, not just high-profile figures. The goal: slow down Iran through attrition, with each action small enough to avoid overt escalation but significant enough to disrupt. Technology and tactics. This symphony of attrition uses diverse tools. Custom malware designed to subtly degrade control systems. Technical forensics to introduce defects into nuclear-related equipment. Precision strikes on individual scientists or managers critical to Iran's programs. Sanctions intelligence, using covert data to support financial pressure. Each tool is adapted to exploit specific vulnerabilities, making the strategy highly adaptable and diffused. Global pressure and diplomacy. Though discreet, these actions collectively apply substantial pressure. 1. International delegitimization. Each sabotage or data leak reinforces the narrative that Iran is deceptive and dangerous, aiding diplomatic efforts to justify sanctions and inspections. 2. Domestic disruption. The frequent setbacks demoralize teams, slow timelines, and fuel internal distrust among Iran's scientists and bureaucrats. 3. Cascading effects. Disabling one component, e.g., a specialty part in a centrifuge, can halt entire systems, magnifying the impact of even small interventions. This almost invisible interference creates a sense that Iran's systems are unreliable even from within. Psychological impact. The continuous, low-grade nature of this campaign instills a creeping uncertainty. Engineers and scientists start to question what's sabotaging their work. Even loyal factions in Iran begin to fear exposure or betrayal. Such pervasive doubt can slow operations more than evacuations or arrests. The cumulative uncertainty is part of the tactical objective. Managing risk and escalation. A core advantage of this approach is its minimal escalation risk. Since each incident is small, Iran is less likely to identify and retaliate against Israel directly. The gradual nature makes it harder for Tehran to rally international sympathy or justify broader retaliation. It provides Israel with a flexible toolkit to escalate or pause as geopolitical winds shift. Chapter 15: The Abraham Accords, the Saudis, and the Future. In this final chapter, the authors explore how the culmination of covert operations, shared threat perception, and diplomatic realignments came together in the Abraham Accords, and speculate on what the future holds, especially regarding potential ties with Saudi Arabia. From secret cooperation to official treaties. The chapter begins by tracing the transformation of Israel's discreet, intelligence-driven collaboration with Gulf countries into public normalization of relations. Spearheaded in 2020, the Abraham Accords formally established ties between Israel and 3 Arab nations, the UAE, Bahrain, and later Morocco and Sudan. These treaties were built on a shared fear of Iran, mutual economic interests, and the influence of strategic partners like the United States. Security beyond borders. Although the accords are diplomatic, their roots lie in security cooperation. Israel had already been sharing intelligence, coordinating cyber defenses, and, even in some ways, preparing for joint action. The formal agreements simply brought that cooperation into the open, strengthening deterrence by signaling a united front against Iran. Key outcomes include open military and intelligence liaison channels, access to airspace and regional bases for strategic operations, a psychological boost to regional cohesion and resilience. Saudi Arabia, the missing piece. Saudi Arabia is the final frontier in this normalization trend. Though historically hostile toward Israel, the kingdom shares Israel's operational concerns about Iran. The chapter outlines factors shaping potential Saudi-Israeli ties. 1. Geopolitical pressure. Saudi leaders face mounting pressure to modernize and align more closely with Gulf neighbors. 2. U.S. involvement. American diplomatic efforts have repeatedly pushed Riyadh toward openness, although security guarantees, including missile defense, play a pivotal role. 3. Economic and technological incentives. Saudi Arabia stands to gain from Israel's tech, infrastructure, and innovation sectors, benefits that could outweigh political risk. However, major obstacles remain: public opinion, Palestinian statehood issues, and religious sensitivities. What lies ahead? The chapter considers two key futures. 1. A broader Arab-Israel coalition. An expanded circle could form, turning the Middle East into an integrated strategic bloc anchored by shared security, especially against Iran, economic interdependence, cultural and diplomatic engagement. 2. Continued adversarial undercurrents. The region may remain bifurcated: public sentiments against Israel, unresolved Palestinian issues, and occasional proxy conflicts, unless structural solutions are found. Israel's strategic choice. Faced with these possibilities, Israel must choose how assertive it wants to be. Will it proactively engage Saudi Arabia and pitch a broad coalition? Or will it maintain its current posture, quiet, intelligence-led, and measured? The authors suggest that divestment from covert-only tactics toward open cooperation may be necessary for genuine regional security and stability. Final takeaway. The Mossad's promise is this: to protect Israel by stopping threats in their tracks, even before they fully emerge. Through hybrid methods, digital, technical, covert and overt, the agency has become a new kind of strategic shield for Israel and a permanent factor in Middle East diplomacy and deterrence.